Have you ever experienced a moment so perfectly timed that it felt like the universe itself was whispering to you? Maybe you thought about an old friend, and just minutes later, they called you out of the blue. Or perhaps you stumbled upon a book, a number, or a stranger's words that answered a question you hadn't even spoken aloud. These moments are called synchronicities, and once you start noticing them, they begin to change the way you see everything. Our minds are wired to dismiss coincidences as random. But what if they aren't random at all? What if synchronicities are the universe's way of showing us that our thoughts, emotions, and intentions have far more power than we've been taught to believe? The law of attraction suggests that the energy we put out shapes the reality we live in, and synchronicities may just be the proof dot in the next few minutes. You're going to discover how synchronicities connect to the law of attraction. Why? They can't be explained by chance alone, and how they can serve as guiding lights on your personal journey. And by the end, you won't just understand them, you'll know how to attract more of them into your own life. So, if you've ever wondered whether the universe is alive, aware, and responding to you, stay with me. Because what you're about to hear might just shift the way you see reality forever. There are moments in life when reality seems to bend in our favor, when something happens so perfectly timed that it shakes our understanding of what's possible. These are not just accidents or chance encounters. They feel like signs, like whispers from something larger than ourselves. We call them synchronicities. Imagine this. You're sitting alone, wondering whether you should take a new job or move to a new city. You've been wrestling with doubt for weeks. Then, one day, while scrolling through a bookshop, a novel falls from the shelf, and the first line you read is about someone making the exact same decision you're facing. Or perhaps you've been thinking about reconnecting with an old friend, and just as thought arises, your phone buzzes, and it's them. These aren't just coincidences. They feel alive. They feel meaningful. And that feeling is what separates synchronicities from ordinary chance. The word synchronicity was popularized by the psychologist Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds of the 20th century. Jung noticed that his patients would often experience strange coincidences that connected deeply with their inner lives. He told the story of a woman describing a dream about a golden scarab beetle, when suddenly, in the middle of the session, a real scarab beetle tapped against the window. Jung saw this as more than coincidence. To him, it was an example of the outer world and the inner world mysteriously mirroring each other. For Jung, synchronicities weren't about cause and effect, like traditional science explains. Instead, they were about meaning. A synchronicity is meaningful because it reflects something happening in our psyche, our thoughts, emotions, or unconscious desires, while simultaneously showing up in the outside world. It's as if the universe has a hidden language, one that doesn't speak through words, but through symbols, timing, and connection. Now, most of us are taught to think of life as random. We're told that coincidences happen because of probability, and that meaning is something we project onto events, not something inherent within them. But when you experience a synchronicity firsthand, this explanation feels incomplete. Why did that book fall at the exact moment you needed it? Why did you meet someone who had the precise knowledge you were seeking, right when you were searching for it? Why does life sometimes feel orchestrated, like a symphony where every note lands at the perfect moment? Some people brush it off as luck. Others call it fate. But for those who are paying attention, synchronicities are invitations, clues. That reality is more connected than we realize. They awaken us to the idea that there might be an intelligence woven into the very fabric of existence, guiding us in subtle ways. And here's the most fascinating part. Synchronicities often appear when we are at crossroads in our lives. When we're asking big questions, or when we're seeking direction. They show up not when we're distracted or rushing, but when we're open, curious, and ready for change. It's almost as if the universe responds to our state of mind, arranging little mirrors that reflect our inner world back at us. Think about your own life for a moment. Have you ever had a coincidence so striking that it stopped you in your tracks? Maybe you kept seeing the same number over and over again, on clocks, license plates, receipts, until it felt like the number itself was trying to tell you something. Or maybe you thought about a dream career, and then, out of nowhere, you bumped into someone already living that dream, inspiring you to move forward. These are not accidents. These are messages. To truly understand synchronicity, we need to expand the way we think about reality. Instead of seeing the universe as a cold machine of cause and effect, we begin to see it as alive, conscious, and interactive. We start to realize that the events unfolding around us are not separate from us. They are connected to our thoughts, our feelings, and our deepest intentions. This is the doorway into a completely different worldview. A worldview where life is not happening to us, but with us. Where the universe is not distant and silent, but responsive, playful, and intimate. Synchronicities remind us that meaning is not something we impose. It is something that reveals itself when we pay attention. And this is just the beginning. Because once we understand synchronicity, we naturally arrive at a bigger question. If the universe is communicating with us through meaningful events, then what is guiding these events? Why do they happen when they do? And how can we align ourselves to experience more of them? This leads us directly into the law of attraction, the idea that what we focus on, we draw into our lives. And synchronicities may be the universe's way of confirming that truth. If synchronicities are the mysterious signs that life is more connected than we think, then the law of attraction is the key that explains why they happen. It is one of the most popular yet misunderstood concepts in spirituality, and when we place it side by side with synchronicity, something profound begins to emerge. The law of attraction, at its core, is very simple, like attracts like. The energy you put into the world through your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs shapes the kind of experiences you attract back into your life. It's the idea that your mind is not just a passive observer of reality, but an active participant. In creating it, think of your thoughts as seeds. Every belief, every intention, every emotion plants a seed in the fertile soil of the universe. Some of those seeds grow into opportunities, relationships, or experiences that reflect what you've been focusing on. When you focus on fear, doubt, and scarcity, you tend to encounter situations that reinforce those feelings. But when you focus on trust, gratitude, and possibility, you invite experiences that echo those same vibrations back to you. Synchronicities are often the blossoms of those seeds, the visible proof that what you are putting out is being mirrored back. They don't just appear randomly. They appear as a response. They're like cosmic breadcrumbs, showing you that your inner state and your outer reality are more deeply connected than you've ever imagined. Consider this. You've been visualizing a new chapter in your career. You're excited about it, you're putting energy into it, but you're not sure how it could possibly unfold. Then, out of nowhere, you run into someone at a cafe who works in the exact field you want to enter. That conversation opens a door. And suddenly, the opportunity feels real. This isn't just coincidence, it's alignment. The law of attraction has been at work, and the synchronicity is the universe's way of nudging you forward. This is why so many people describe synchronicities as a kind of universal confirmation. They feel like signs that say, yes, you're on the right path, keep going. And the more we pay attention, the more we realize they are not passive accidents. They are interactive messages. Science has often struggled with the law of attraction because it doesn't operate on the usual rules of cause and effect. But when we think in terms of energy, it starts to make sense. Everything in the universe vibrates at a frequency, from atoms to thoughts. When you align your vibration with something, whether it's love, abundance, or growth, you naturally attract experiences that resonate with that frequency. It's not about forcing things to happen. It's about attuning yourself to the reality you want to experience. Synchronicities are the visible ripples of this attunement. They show up when your inner world and the outer world are harmonizing, when your intention is in resonance with the larger flow of life. And the beauty is that the more you recognize them, the more they begin to multiply. It's as if the universe rewards awareness with more awareness. But here's the crucial part. The law of attraction doesn't mean you can control every single event in your life. It doesn't mean you'll never face challenges or setbacks. What it does mean is that your inner state plays a powerful role in shaping how life unfolds around you. And synchronicities are reminders that the universe is listening, that your energy, your focus, and your belief matter. So why does this matter so much? Because once you understand that synchronicities are not just coincidences, but reflections of your energy, you begin to realize how much power you actually have. You are not a passive player in the story of your life. You are a co-creator. And the universe, far from being silent, is in constant dialogue with you through signs, patterns, and perfectly timed encounters. This understanding is both humbling and empowering. Humbling, because it reminds us that there is a greater intelligence guiding the flow of events. Empowering, because it shows us that we are not separate from that intelligence. We are woven into it. Our choices, our focus, and our energy shape the dance of synchronicity itself. And when you see life this way, every synchronicity becomes more than a coincidence. It becomes an invitation to trust, to align, and to recognize that you are deeply connected to the hidden blueprint of reality. In the next part, we will step away from theory and move into story. Because sometimes the best way to understand synchronicities is to see them in action through real experiences that defy all logic, yet feel perfectly orchestrated. Stories that will not only inspire you, but may remind you of moments in your own life where the universe seemed to leave you speechless. Sometimes the best way to grasp the mystery of synchronicity is not through explanation, but through story. Stories have a way of bypassing the intellect and going straight to the heart. And when it comes to synchronicities, stories are everywhere, because these events happen to people from all walks of life in ways so precise that they leave no doubt something greater is at work. Let's begin with one that Carl Jung himself documented. He was treating a young woman who was deeply rational, skeptical, and resistant to change. Jung felt she needed a breakthrough, a way to see that life held more mystery than logic alone could explain. One day, as she described a dream about a golden scarab, Jung heard a tapping on the window behind him. He opened it, and in flew a scarabid beetle, one of the closest insects to the golden scarab of her dream. She was stunned. That moment cracked her resistance, and she began to open up to deeper transformation. Was it coincidence? Or was it the universe answering the very symbol her unconscious had brought forth? Now let's move to something more contemporary. A man once shared his story of struggling to find direction after losing his job. Every day, he thought about wanting to work in a field that allowed him to help others, but he didn't know where to start. One morning, he missed his usual bus, something that frustrated him deeply. But while waiting for the next one, he struck up a conversation with a stranger sitting beside him. That stranger happened to run a non-profit organization and offered him a volunteer opportunity. That missed bus became the turning point that led him into a fulfilling new career. What felt like an inconvenience at first turned out to be a perfectly orchestrated alignment. Another story. A young woman was at a crossroads, debating whether to study abroad. She was scared, unsure if it was the right choice. One night, she dreamed she was walking through the streets of Paris. The very next day, while scrolling through social media, An ad popped up for a scholarship program in Paris, something she had never searched for before. Days later, she overheard strangers at a cafe talking about the exact same program. Within weeks, she applied, was accepted, and her life changed forever. To her, those repeating signs were not random. They were synchronicities nudging her toward her destiny. And then there are the patterns that appear in numbers, often dismissed as just coincidence, yet carrying deep meaning for those who experience them. People repeatedly noticing 1111 on clocks, or encountering the same sequence of numbers during times of transition. To skeptics, it's simply selective attention. But to those experiencing it, it feels like a message, a reminder that they are aligned, that something unseen is walking beside them. Perhaps you've had your own. Maybe you thought of someone you hadn't spoken to in years, and within hours, they reached out to you. Maybe you stumbled upon the exact information you needed at the exact time you needed it. These moments might be dismissed as probability, but when you live them, they carry a sense of meaning that logic alone cannot explain. What makes synchronicities so powerful is not just the improbability of the events themselves, it's the feeling they stir inside us. That sense of awe, wonder, and even reverence. They remind us that life is not a series of disconnected accidents, but a web of meaningful connections. And that feeling changes us. It makes us more attentive, more trusting, more willing to believe that we are guided. But here's something important. The more open and aware you are, the more synchronicities tend to appear. It's as though the universe rewards attention. When you dismiss them, they fade into the background. But when you notice them, acknowledge them, and allow yourself to feel their meaning, they multiply. Life begins to feel like a dialogue between you and something greater, whether you call it the universe, God, spirit, or simply consciousness itself. Synchronicities can be subtle, like a song on the radio that answers a question in your mind. Or they can be life-altering, like meeting the exact person who opens the door to your dream. And the more you look back at your own life, the more you realize that synchronicities have likely been shaping your path all along. These stories, whether personal or collective, point to the same truth. Synchronicities are not random. They are guiding threads in the tapestry of our lives. And when we recognize them, we begin to live differently. We begin to see the world not as chaotic, but as intelligent, responsive. And a live dot in the next part will explore how recognizing synchronicities doesn't just change events, it transforms perception itself. Because when you start to see the universe as alive and meaningful, the way you move through life will never be the same again. Up until now, we've looked at synchronicities as events moments when life delivers something too meaningful to be dismissed as chance. But the true power of synchronicity lies not just in the events themselves, but in how they shift the way we see reality. Once you begin noticing them, it's as if a veil has been lifted and the world no longer looks the same dot at first. Most people live with a worldview shaped by logic and randomness. We're taught that life unfolds through cause and effect, that coincidences are inevitable statistical quirks, and that meaning is something humans project onto an otherwise indifferent universe. But synchronicities break that spell. They slip past rational explanations and leave you with a quiet knowing. Something bigger is at play here. This is the first transformation from skepticism to openness. Even the most rational minds have been unsettled by a synchronicity so precise it feels like a direct message. Once that happens, you can't go back to seeing life as purely mechanical. A new possibility emerges that the universe might actually be intelligent, interactive, and connected to your inner world. The second transformation is the return of wonder. Synchronicities remind us that reality is not just functional, but magical. They reawaken a childlike sense of awe, the feeling that life is full of hidden messages waiting to be discovered. You begin to look at each day not as a random sequence of events, but as a story unfolding with meaning woven into every chapter. Suddenly, you notice patterns in numbers, hear lyrics in songs that feel written for you, or encounter strangers who seem to appear at the exact right time. And instead of brushing these off, you lean in with curiosity. The third transformation is trust. Synchronicities have a way of dissolving fear by showing you that you are not alone in your journey. When life presents you with a sign at the exact moment you need it, a deep sense of reassurance settles in. It's as if the universe is saying, "You're on the right path. Keep moving." This trust doesn't mean everything becomes easy. It means you walk with the confidence that even challenges are part of a larger design. You no longer feel like you're stumbling in the dark. You feel guided. The fourth transformation is the strengthening of intuition. The more you notice synchronicities, the more you begin to sense the subtle currents of life. You start to feel when to say yes, when to pause, when to take a leap. It's not logical, it's intuitive. And synchronicities serve as confirmation that your intuition is aligned with something greater. Over time, this inner compass becomes one of your greatest tools for navigating life. And then comes the deepest transformation, the sense of unity. Synchronicities dissolve the illusion of separation. They show you that your thoughts, your emotions, and your life circumstances are not isolated fragments, but part of an interconnected whole. The same intelligence that aligns the stars and the tides seems to be aligning your path. This realization changes everything. You begin to see yourself not as a small being lost in a vast universe, but as a participant in the unfolding of cosmic intelligence itself. Of course, there are those who dismiss synchronicities as just coincidences. But once you've lived them, once you've felt the uncanny timing and meaning, it becomes nearly impossible to reduce them to mere statistics. Because synchronicities aren't about probability, they're about experience. They carry weight, not because they are mathematically rare, but because they strike us at the exact moment when meaning is needed. And here's what's fascinating. Your perception determines how many synchronicities you experience. When you ignore them, they fade into the background. But when you notice them, acknowledge them, and honor their meaning, they multiply. It's as if the universe responds to your awareness with more signs, more alignments, more whispers. The act of paying attention is itself an invitation. This shift in perception is what makes synchronicities so transformative. You stop seeing life as a series of random accidents and start seeing it as a dialogue, a living conversation between you and the universe. And when you live this way, every moment feels richer, deeper, more significant. Even small encounters take on meaning. Even challenges feel purposeful. But perhaps the most profound gift of synchronicities is the reminder that you are not powerless. You are connected to something vast, intelligent, and responsive. And when you open your eyes to that connection, life begins to move differently. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. The random becomes intentional. And every day becomes an opportunity to live in alignment with the greater flow of existence. In the final part, we will explore how to actively invite synchronicities into your daily life, how to cultivate the mindset, energy, and presence that makes them not just rare events, but natural companions on your journey. Because synchronicities are not reserved for the few. They are available to anyone willing to live in flow with the universe. By now, we've explored what synchronicities are, how they connect with the law of attraction, and the ways they transform our perception of reality. But the question remains, how do we invite them more often into our lives? How do we move from waiting for them to happen to living in such a way that they naturally become part of our daily experience? The first step is presence. Synchronicities often go unnoticed, not because they aren't happening, but because we're too distracted to see them. When your mind is racing with worries, when you're glued to your phone, or when you're rushing through life on autopilot, you miss the subtle signs. But when you slow down, breathe, and actually pay attention, you start to notice the little alignments happening all around you. Presence turns random noise into meaningful patterns. The second step is clarity of intention. The law of attraction works best when you're clear about what you want to invite into your life. This doesn't mean obsessing or forcing outcomes. It means setting a direction, like aiming your compass toward true north. When you hold a clear vision in your mind and heart, synchronicities often appear as guideposts along the way, reminders that you're moving in alignment with that vision. The third step is vibration. Your emotional state matters. Gratitude, joy, love, and curiosity all create a frequency that attracts more of the same. When you're weighed down by fear, bitterness, or doubt, your field contracts and synchronicities become less noticeable. But when you raise your vibration through gratitude, meditation, or even small acts of kindness, you naturally align with the flow of life. Synchronicities thrive in high-frequency states of being. The fourth step is openness. Sometimes synchronicities don't look the way we expect. You might ask for guidance about your career, and instead of receiving a job offer immediately, you meet a person who challenges your perspective, opening a door you didn't even know existed. Living in flow means staying open to the unexpected, trusting that the universe may know the path better than your plans do. And then there's the final step, trust. Synchronicities are most powerful when you trust them. This doesn't mean blindly following every small coincidence. It means feeling into the ones that resonate deeply, the ones that stir something in your soul. When you trust those nudges, life begins to unfold with a rhythm and grace that feels effortless. Obstacles still appear, but they no longer feel like dead ends. They feel like part of the choreography. Think of it like dancing with the universe. You don't control every step, but you allow yourself to be guided by the rhythm. And the more you surrender to that rhythm, the more you find yourself in the right place, at the right time, meeting the right people. That's the essence of living in flow. One practical way to strengthen this relationship is to keep a synchronicity journal. Each time something meaningful happens, a chance encounter, a repeated symbol, a perfectly timed event, write it down. Over time, you'll begin to see patterns, not just in the events, but in your own growth. You'll notice that synchronicities tend to appear more often when you're aligned with your purpose, and less often when you're disconnected from it. The journal becomes proof that your life is part of a larger story. Another practice is daily gratitude. Simply taking a few moments each day to acknowledge the synchronicities you've experienced sends a powerful message. I see you, I'm paying attention. And in return, more seem to arrive. The universe, in a way, loves to be noticed. The more you live this way, the more synchronicities stop feeling like rare surprises and start feeling like natural companions. Life itself becomes the teacher, sending you signals, confirmations, and invitations at every turn. You begin to realize that nothing is wasted, nothing is random, and everything is part of a living dialogue between you and the cosmos. And perhaps the most beautiful part is this: synchronicities remind you that you are never walking alone. Whether it's through numbers, symbols, conversations, or perfectly timed opportunities, the universe is always speaking. It's always guiding. And when you learn to live in flow, those whispers become louder, clearer, and more frequent. So, the next time you notice a meaningful coincidence, pause, breathe it in, smile, because it may not be an accident at all. It may be the universe reminding you that you are exactly where you need to be, at exactly the right time, walking in harmony with something infinitely greater.